Hi, it's Mr. Bye for now from Millwall Football Club, and you're listening to the world famous Achtung Millwall.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung Millwall, the number one Millwall podcast. Joining us in the post-Stoke purple haze of glory are two of my show regulars. Michael Avery, welcome to the show, Michael.
Football is back and we're top of the league, dear listener. Stop the count and all the other cliches that come with it.
We are top of the league indeed. Also joining us, Mr. Ryan Loftus. How are you doing, Ryan?
Very well, thanks. Very well, thanks, Nick.
And we should probably begin and get this bit out of the way, listeners, but congratulations to our England Lionesses, who are the Women's Euro Champions 2022. I actually watched it last night, Ryan. How about that?
Finally came round to it.
Am I making advances?
Finally came around to it. Well, I was surprised. I was at my nan's 85th birthday, and It was very much hang around for an hour, and then went and sat and watched it in the front room. And slowly but surely, pretty much everyone made their way in, which was good. Good to see, 50 and 60-year-old men all getting involved, and it's England winning the tournament, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It was enjoyable. What more do you want? I mean, we were just speaking off air, Michael, weren't we? I mean, it's I haven't followed the tournament, listeners. I'm not going to make any bones about it, but I watched the part of the semi-final, and I enjoyed last night. I think you have to see it as a sport in its own right, Michael. We were just having this debate offline, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And also as well, I remember when the game actually first started, and we was talking, not amongst us, but just amongst other people I was with, and we was talking about it, and they were saying about compare it to last year. And it is, you think about it in the crowds, all the fans of different countries are sat together. It's a lot more of a family atmosphere. Also, please note, for a lot of people who say that women's football ain't interesting, I think that was the largest attendance for any UEFA game last night.
87,000 plus.
Yeah. I think it was across men and women. Yes, you can argue the ticket prices and all this kind of stuff, but it's the same laws and the same rules, but it is a different sport. Me and Nick were saying off there, dear listener, it's similar to sort of like tennis. You've obviously got the 5-set games for the men, 3-set for the women. There's other sports like women's rugby, and I think yes. There's the question mark. Is it as big as England winning the World Cup in '66? But like I said as well, let's just take it for what it is. In my lifetime, as a 35 going on 36-year-old, I've never seen an England senior team win a major European competition or world competition. So there we are.
No, let's take some joy out of that. I mean, Ryan. I mean, it is a different sport. I mean, do you agree? Is it a different thing for you? I mean, I'm thinking that women's cricket would have reduced boundaries. Women's tennis, Michael's mentioned. The physicality will be the main difference between the two games, but some skillful players last night.
Yeah, I don't see them as different sports at all. I think it's just a different level of. Obviously, I think it's newer, and it's the whole thing. It was banned for 60 years, so men's football was banned for that long, and how the ability. I mean, if you watch clips back from the 70s, that's almost a different sport to what we see now. If you watch a top first division game from the 70s and watch Pep Guardiola,
that's an interesting thought. Actually, that's an interesting way to put it.
The sport is different, and even most sports about that. You watch cricket back then, like cricket. Do you think a T20 is exactly the same as what happened back in the 60s and 70s? No. But no, for me, it's tens of thousands of people watch the SE Dons on YouTube. They watch Sunday League football. So people who moan about the quality of it, which I think because it's growing, I think people have previously had the attitude of like tub thumping, and I think a lot of commentators who comment a lot on it have said this openly. Say you do have to be positive and say, and so a lot of people might watch the odd game, not be very entertaining and go, well, what are they watching? But I think the best thing with this tournament is there were some unbelievable games. The quality was unbelievable. From England, Germany were really good. France, there were some really exciting teams. So it's, the first tournament I've watched the whole way through and have gone, more than, 70% of the games were really entertaining and really good quality. And it's just because the sport's getting more funding and the players are getting better. And, if people, look, the listeners here turn out and watch Gary Rowett's Millwall every week, like it or lump it. When we're going through our 16th draw of the season, complaining about the quality, it's sometimes with football, everyone knows you can get the best game in the world or you can get the worst thing you've ever seen. But I absolutely loved it and was absolutely chuffed for him to win.
We were saying again off air, it wasn't even like an easy run, neither was it? I mean, like I think England, the women are 8th in the world. I think they only conceded 2 goals all tournament. They were obliterating teams who are a lot more fancied than them. But another interesting topic, and we're slightly woke, as we said last time I was on, dear listener.
It is the woke podcast.
It is the woke podcast. It now
Millwoke.
Millwoke. Yeah, it now opens the question about the female coaches in the game, because there was talk last year of Emma Hayes joining AFC Wimbledon when they was having managerial problems, and a lot of people say no, she don't know what she's doing, even though she'd won Super League after Super League and Champions League after Champions League. And now you've got the England manager last night, who I think is that her second consecutive European tournament win. She's completely revolutionised that England team. But what male team would look at her and think, I'll take a punt with her, I'll give her a chance?
Well, it's also a bit disingenuous for the women coaches, like you say with that Emma Hayes. The fact that Emma Hayes is, one of the best coaches in the women's game of all time,
and recently got an MBE. Was it an MBE or an OBE for herself?
Yeah. And people think, oh well, she'll do a good job at a League One club side who's just been relegated. Johnny Jackson's the manager there now, who's only been a manager for 6 months, and it's exactly. Serena Wiegman by rights. You say what a fantastic job she's done. In terms of going over to the men's game, it would be, well, she should be the Dutch men's national coach. That's the level she should enter at. But obviously that's a long way off still. I think it's I think there was it Strasbourg in France who did have a female coach for a little while, and then I think she backed out of it quite quickly because I don't think the team was being run very well. I think she kind of realised that they'd almost given her the job really as a gimmick rather than as a truly believing in her and backing the club. But no, that would be a massive step, and it should get to that point. You look at the tournament, there's a lot of male coaches in the women's game. But what was really good is that I think in the semi-finals, 3 out of 4 of the coaches were female coaches. It's, in terms of being a coach, literally your gender has no bearing on how good you are.
We're going to have listeners throwing their iPhones out the windows of their cars or whatever, however they listen to the show. But no, well done, Lionesses. Not often we win stuff.
Yeah.
Let's take some joy from it. I think that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Ryan has already neatly segued into mentioning Gary Rowett's Millwall, and we are speaking, chaps, in the aftermath of a really good, really strong 2-0 win over a rather bland-looking Stoke City side. Ryan, was that a good Millwall performance or was that an abject Stoke one for you? How did you see this game on Saturday, mate?
It's a bit of both. I think I did say after the game, if I was a Stoke fan, I know they've got quite a few new signings, but even then, signings with championship experience who should slot right in, like Aidan Flint, he really count as a new signing? He's a plug-and-play defender in the championship. But if I was a Stoke fan, I would watch that and be really, really worried. And I did think it was quite funny of the Stoke fans chanting, Gary Rowett, your football is shit, while watching Michael O'Neill's Stoke is, it's a bit of a pot kettle situation. But no, I thought it was a really good Mill performance. I think what Rowett highlighted as well was defensively we were excellent. The whole back five and from bar Bart's little spillage, which he just about recovered. We just didn't look like conceding at any point in the game. We didn't look like we were in any trouble. Didn't have to take the foot off the gas. Obviously, we didn't create loads of chances and open play, relied on the set pieces, but really there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the second half especially, we did create a bit more. And obviously we've got new signings bedding in. We've got good depth on the bench, players to come in and kind of change games up now. I thought it was a really good performance to start a season like that with a solid 2-0 win. That sets you off on the right foot. And, Millwall were famously slow starters. If Rowett can slightly correct that this year and we can be a bit more, even if it started on a base of defensive solidity like he normally prefers, get the confidence in the legs and then start battering teams, I think.
Yeah, I was actually making some notes to myself, Michael, about Charlie Cresswell. I'm trying to think of better Millwall debuts, and the only one, because I go back such a long way, the only one I can think of, coincidentally, with Saturday was Phil Walker coming in from non-league and scoring in 1975. In terms of a Millwall debut, 2 goals and, as Ryan's already said, a strong defensive performance. Charlie Cresswell's got to be one of the best, if not the best, Millwall debut I think that would spring to my mind. Or I don't know about listeners. Suggest me another one, listeners. But that was some performance, mate, wasn't it?
Do you know what? Funny thing you say that. I was just having in my head ready to go. I think 3 words for 3 players you've got to pick out. And like Ryan said about new signings there, Creswell, Shackleton, and Honeyman. I thought they was all absolutely superb. I thought that Stoke couldn't get near them. When Stoke had the ball, they pressed them. Creswell showing what he can do from corners. I mean, you got to think as well that his second goal was a volley, wasn't it? It wasn't even like a header or a bundle in. He put it in quite nicely. I thought it was an excellent game, an excellent performance. Don't get me wrong. And there's not many negatives I can take. I think you can maybe have a little bit of criticism that we didn't seem to do too much in the first half from open play, and the goals came from corners. But I think that I said that to somebody who didn't go to the game and said, how was it? I said, it was very similar to me, with like a Man United or a Chelsea of like the late 90s, early 2000s, where there'd be about 4 or 5 points clear at the top of the table. They'd go to a ground or they'd have someone at home. They know they've got to win to get the job done. They get the job done. It's convincing. And you just know they're on the path to something good. That's what I thought it was like, because I don't think there was anything massively spectacular. But as I said, Sunday evening, Stoke could still be out there now and they still wouldn't have scored. I thought it was a very, very, very a very good performance. A couple of tweaks here and there, because I did say as well, without being, again, ultimately critical, if we played like that against a Burnley, a Norwich, a West Brom, would we have beat them? Maybe not, but I don't think we would have lost it neither.
I think the ability to create from set pieces, which was something that I think all of us from last season were saying was an area where we could probably look to do better, especially with the likes of Jake Cooper and although Sean Hutchinson wasn't involved yesterday, it fell to our advantage with Cresswell coming in. But I was really pleased with the way that both the goals were created. I mean, I think. Am I right, Ryan, in thinking that Cooper made a kind of a decoy run almost and took players with him and created space for Cresswell?
Definitely. Well, that's the struggle for teams defending it, and Stoke as well. They've got a big back three. It's hard for teams defending it because Cooper, they always pick him out as the main threat. And really, Cooper's not been scoring a lot since that season. He got 8 or 9, was it? But I mean, largely that is down to teams marking him a lot more. He'll often have 2 players on him, but when you've then got Murray Wallace and Charlie Cresswell, when I'm sure at times this season you'll have all 4 of them with Hutchinson on the pitch as well, with Murray Wallace as at wing back. So if they've got 3 or 4 players like that, and even when you bring him in, Zian Fleming's not small, although he might be taking the corners, it's hard to defend that. And I think that's what Michael O'Neill said after the game, is you pay so much attention on marking Jake Cooper that all the others get a bit of space. And like you say, like Michael said, the second goal was a volley. So it's poor defending from Stoke, but obviously he forced Bursic into the save from the corner just before. He could have had another one, but it's hard to do. And I think it's interesting. Michael saying obviously the performance is a bit. You kind of get the job done. And I know what you mean in terms of you're not really in trouble at any point, but the breakthroughs you get from set pieces. But I think with Stoke, it's they didn't really offer much. There wasn't much space to counter. It was quite a stodgy game in terms of that. Neither team really had loads of space to work passes and create anything. So there will be times where when we're playing the bigger teams, hopefully it'll be a bit more counter-attacking and it will be a bit more open, and we'll have a bit more time to create chances. But the fact that we've got both options is really good. The fact that also we've seen that we've got people who can take set pieces. With obviously Jed Wallace was kind of the main corner taker. It's not that hard to do, but a lot of teams don't have great delivery. Malone obviously took one, but Honeyman took the other. So we've got options there. It just bodes well. I think there's not really much, and like Michael said, all the signings did really well. The ones who started anyway, and we saw more of, they all did really well, and that's what you want. And I think even looking at the bench, I asked Barrett about it after the game. Obviously, there's points last season where we couldn't even fill the bench, and there's a lot of times last season when the game wasn't going your way, and I remember looking at the bench and going, "Great, the best thing we can bring on is George Evans." We don't have a striker. We don't have anyone who can change the game. Whereas yesterday, you've got Fleming to come in. You've got Bury to come on. You've got Bennett on the bench. You've got players, not just there. You've got Saville. You've got not just numbers to come on, but different players who can come on and change the game and make it a different sort of game. If you put Bennett and Fleming on, as he did, immediately you've got a bit more pace and a bit more direct running and a bit more threat that way. If you bring Saville on, you can slow it down and keep the ball a bit better. With Fury on, you've got that excitement and that flair. To have that number of options, even this early in the season, and by all accounts pushing for maybe one or two more, the squad looks in a really good position. It looks really good at the moment.
Very refreshing.
Completely refreshing. Rather than seeing Kieftenbeld or George Evans stripped off at the side. And thinking we're gonna shut it off for a 1-0 win.
I'm just glad for Harry's blood pressure that we're not seeing so much of. We're not going to see Kieftenbeld at all, but certainly Evans. Michael, you wanted to say something, mate? You had your hand
I was just going to touch on with the defending from the corner. If you watch Creswell's second goal again, the volley, he does really well to sort of lose his players and sort of push them out of the way and move them out of the way. You can argue it's poor defending that they didn't go with him, but his movement at that corner, he shook off 2 defenders. I thought. What helped Millwall massively, again, what we say about how Stoke played, they just did not use Dwight Gale how you normally use Dwight Gale. Like that type of player.
He looked very anonymous.
He was very lost on the pitch, wasn't he? Yeah,
he definitely wasn't fit. He was not fit. I think he's played like 30 minutes. I think that was pretty much his first start. Yeah. He's just not fit.
But I don't even think they used him properly, Ryan, as the sort of main leading the line man. How many times did he drop 10, 15 yards to like sort of the edge of our midfield to try and get the ball back? And that's not how Dwight Gale normally plays. But I've got to say one comment as well. Well, 2 comments. You said about Fleming when he come on. I don't know if you guys remember when he took that ball inside and he played that lovely curved ball around the back of the back line, and it just dropped to I can't remember. Was it who did it fall to? Whoever it was a lovely ball. And let's stir the pot now and poke the bear. Well, we're missing McNamara because I thought Leonard did a great job at fullback.
Well, I was just going to mention that. I mean, Ryan Leonard being preferred to Danny Mack, who was on the bench and didn't feature at all in the afternoon's proceedings. Heavy-handed message, or it worked out well for Gary Rowett with a 2-0 win. That's the best reply to any contract negotiation, isn't it? I mean, Rowett did say that it was kind of linked to his lack of focus, I think is how he put it. I don't know, but was that heavy-handed for you, Michael, leaving Danny Mack out? It worked out well, so there's your answer, maybe.
It's one of those, you don't really know what's happening behind the scenes, do you?
No, you don't.
I know we've got this stuff with QPR, and straight away with some areas of the fan base, not all areas of the fan base, before anyone starts at me or having a go, but some areas of the fan base very much, well, he don't want to be here, fuck him. But you don't know what's going on, like you don't know whether, everyone's saying, it's the greedy agent, drop him and all this, and then you've got the other side of the coin with Millwall saying, we'll offer him what he wants, he's a Millwall through and through, Millwall family, he's granddad, all that kind of stuff. But if he isn't focused and you think, do you know what, he might not be 100% have his mind on the game, and it might just do him well to have a little breather, have a little think about what he needs to do, because we've got Ryan Leonard here who's played really, really well recently. He can fit in, do a job for a couple of games, then when McNamara's head's right, come back in. I don't see too much wrong with that. I think if it was any worse, it would be a bit more public, Nick. I mean, like for some of our younger listeners, I mean, the demographic of this pod is over 35.
35-year-old blokes upwards. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Brian's the only one who still uses an electric shaver. But it's there's been transfer deals that have gone wrong behind the scenes where we've known about it even publicly. You look at Zach Whitbread comes to mind. If a player don't want to be there and things go wrong, about it. Marlon Romeo, yes, might be for other reasons, but he didn't want to be here. We knew about it. We don't sound like McNamara doesn't want to be here. It just seems like he just wants to type a few loose ends on his contract.
I mean, Ryan, I as a matter of principle, listeners, I will never, ever, ever knock anyone that doesn't want to get their best possible value out of their employer. Football's an unusual business in that we all shout an opinion on from the sidelines, but Danny Mack's perfectly entitled, Ryan, to get the best deal that he possibly can, either from Millwall, or if it don't work out, he doesn't get what he thinks he's worth, and he's going to look elsewhere. That's a basic right. And I mean, was that heavy-handed leaving him out for you on Saturday, or it worked well, as we've said already?
Yeah, I don't think it was heavy-handed. I think I was surprised at how honest Rowett was about the reasons why. Because even he could say. He could have been a bit more cagey about it and just said, that all the speculation and we're just making sure he comes in the right point. But, he was pretty... Rowett has previously been, like not cagey, but, tight-lipped normally, and he's a bit more, can be a bit like that. But with McNamara, he was asked, and he pretty much said straight away, no, it's because of the transfer stuff, and the focus and fair. And I think that is fair enough. I think part of it is him not necessarily, like you said, not being focused, but part of it might be as well keeping him out of the limelight a bit, keeping about, if he gets off to an absolute flyer at the start of the season, it could increase his value, but because he's in the last year of his contract, his value isn't as much as it should be. So you've got that side of it. You've got the side of, he comes out and has rubbish games. The whole crowd gets on his back, and he goes, "Oh, do you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to move." And I think, I think the transfer speculation might have gone a bit beyond QPR. I think a couple of other teams might have been looking at him as well. But
he will be an attractive player for some.
Really attractive. Like he's had a really good season last year, and in terms of having one good year, look at Jed Spence. Okay, he got promoted, but he had one good year in the Championship. Obviously, nowhere near as Danny McNamara has been nowhere near that level, but one good year in the Championship is enough to propel you right now. And I think you got to think about it. Last year was his breakthrough year, so I know he signed a new contract a little while ago with a little bit of a boost in. So he's pretty much gone from youth contract wages to kind of hot prospect, hot prospect like breakthrough or fringes of the first team wages, to now being one of Millwall's most valuable assets, starting every week. That's a big jump in a couple of years, and so he's and it might be the agent probably valuing him a bit higher than maybe what Millwall want to pay for him, and it'll be a bit of a negotiation back and forth. And I think what starting Leonard does there is, it shows Millwall's strength of position sort of thing, where they go, do you know what? Look, if we have to sell you, we'll sell you because we're not going to miss you, sort of thing. Yeah, and I think they would miss him. But they've got Shackleton in now, who was really good in midfield but can play at wing back. Obviously, you don't really want to be playing players out of position all season, but Billy Mitchell was filled in there. But if Leonard plays as well as he did, that's it. You go to the agent and go, well, I would. Rowett can go back to him and say, well, to be honest, I don't think Danny Mac is a guaranteed starter. Look how good Ryan Leonard is there. And when he's fit, obviously a lot of the time it's been because he's not been fit. When he's fit, you speak to the agent and go, well, your client might not be a guaranteed starter, so why would we pay him one of the highest wages? And I don't know what he's asked for, but I think it's just that bit of back and forth. And I'm confident Millwall will sign him. I think Millwall know the value is, and like you say, he's got that connection to the club. I don't think he's not agitating for a move. I think it's just about getting it done. And obviously the season's starting so early, you've got even longer till the end of the transfer window than you normally would. So I think they're just playing it a bit safe at the moment. Don't get him off to a flyer. Don't get all the attention on him. Don't have all the hype around, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Just try and keep it on the back burner and get the deal done behind the scenes. And I hope the club can do it.
Achtung, Millwall.
No One Likes Us Clothing is the clothing range designed by Millwall fans for Millwall fans. Caps, t-shirts, polos, they've got it all. Visit noonelikes.us.co.uk for the full range. Or if you're in Bermondsey on a match day, why not have a pint in the Blue Anchor pub and pick up a Nolu polo shirt, Nolu clothing at www.noonelikes.us.co.uk.
I think as well, it's very difficult. It's like with our Millwall hat on, and as we've said before, Nick, it's all, a lot of people are very sentimental at Millwall. We think if a player plays for a couple of years, why haven't we signed him a bit longer? But I think what it is with Danny McNamara is that long-term vision. And you say it about when you've got players and their employers and things like that, but it's not as easy as some of the fans are saying when they go, oh, like if he goes, it's the same thing that happened with Jed, he'll go on a free, or same thing that happened with so-and-so when he went on a free, or the classic Tim Cahill went for 1.3. If you're a team like Millwall, and we did it on the last show, Nick, that I was on, it's only really this season that we're optimistically, realistically thinking, do you know what, we might have a chance of getting into that top six. Now, if you're a player, like Ryan was saying, like McNamara, who not only are QPR looking at him, but apparently some other clubs as well, and you think, yeah, I do love it here, but like this sort of vision that the club's got or everything like that is only not an unrealistic, but kind of like if all things fall into the right places, and that's quite a lot of things we need to fall in the right place for it to happen. But why would I want to sign a 5-year deal for this? You know, why would I want to be stuck with, not stuck's the wrong word in a negative way, but why would I want to be tied down to a 5-year deal? Similar to what Ryan was saying, when I could just maybe have another year on my contract, which gives me a little bit more negotiating, and then I can see the fruits and then sign a deal at the end of it. It's not, dear listener, it's not as simple as just chuck a contract in front of McNamara and get him to sign it because he likes it down at the Den. It's really not. We need to think of it a bit. And the club's hands are tied. You know, we could offer someone. We had it with Chris Woodnick, didn't we, a while back when he was on loan to us from West Brom, I believe it was. We matched Leicester's bid absolutely perfectly, but Leicester just trumped us. You know, there's not a lot you can do, even if you do offer the right money.
I think Danny is obviously also gifted stroke cursed with the Millwall burden of being a Millwall fan and Millwall family, because there's an expectation that he should take a decision that sentimentally might not be in his business interest, as he would put it. Yeah. He got plenty of good financial advice from the West Upper as he was warming up on Saturday afternoon about the strength of the contract that was in front of him. So a lot of financial advisors gathering in Block 1 from what I could see. I just want to mention Scott Malone. Good performance Saturday from Scott Malone, Ryan. Not a player ever gets enough love sometimes, Scotty.
Yeah, he's an odd one. I feel like he's probably people will identify him as like a worst player at the moment. I think he had an up and down one. He's maybe going forward, he tried a little bit too much at a couple of occasions, but I think he's maybe feeling the pressure of not necessarily getting the goals and assists he did when he first joined. But I thought yesterday, actually, defensively, he was really good. On Saturday. I thought that he had a good battle with I can't remember the right back's name at Stoke, but obviously it's wing back, so it's one-on-ones. Leonard obviously came out on top on his, but they had that little bit where they had a bit of a set two in the corner, and he really got into the player's head. I think he maybe even ended up on a yellow card, but he really just shut him out the game. And I think I do like Malone. I think he can run hot and cold. He can have really hot streaks and really, really poor streaks. But I think because he tries a lot on the ball, as in he tries to do things and he tries to create chances and he tries to dribble. I think when they don't pull off, I think you notice it a bit more. Yeah, and I think that's maybe why people get on his back quite quickly, is because like he tried a couple of little like flicky passes on Saturday and they didn't quite come off, and so it's quite easy rather than if you've got someone who's playing it safe all the time. But that's what he's in the team for. He's in the team to bomb forward, really. He's much more of an attacker than he is a defender, really, in that system. And obviously you've got Murray Wallace, who kind of overlaps him and fills in the left-back slot anyway. So, yeah, I thought he played really well. I don't think there was really a bad performance on the pitch, and I thought he was really good. Obviously got the assist for I think it was the second corner for the goal. I'm wondering when he's going to slow down, really. Obviously he's pushing over 30 now. I wonder when doing 2 games
Thanks for making everyone feel old there, Ryan. Cheers, mate.
In football context, right. Mark, he's an old man. He'd be he's collecting his pen.
The Beastie Boys did an album called No Sleep Till Brooklyn, didn't they? So maybe he's like No Sleep Till, I don't know, not Bournemouth. Trying to think of it. I don't know. No Sleep Till Seven Oaks or something.
Till Wembley.
Midfield.
To that training opened up.
We've mentioned Shackleton and Michael. I think you touched on Honeyman, but also I want to mention Billy Mitch. That was a really strong midfield performance by the three there. One of the best I've seen from Billy Mitch, Michael, in a long time. I thought he really got stuck in.
Do you know what I think Billy Mitchell showed in that game? He showed a lot of maturity. Whereas I think a few times last season he might have got a bit too stuck in, or he was accused of sort of playing that sideways football by some people on this podcast a few times, and he was a little bit hot and cold. I thought he was excellent. I thought the way, as cliches go, we do love a cliche on this podcast. He looked like a sort of 10-year veteran. He looked like he was in his 30s the way he played. He was everywhere you needed him to be. Him just playing his game and sort of getting stuck in and breaking down the play allowed Shackleton and Honeyman to play their game. And I think he'll be that type of player, Mitchell, that at the end of the year, it doesn't happen at many other clubs, but you'll have that sort of player who a lot of clubs sort of forget they're there. And when it comes up for Player of the Year voting, he won't even be considered. But at Millwall, a player like that, if he keeps on like that, a lot of people start thinking it's because we've got these amount of goals because of how Mitchell helps break down the play and play it forward to actually to more attacking players has led to goals. Or, other teams haven't attacked as much because Mitchell gets more stuck in and puts more pressure on and puts a good press on. I think he had I think like Ryan said, I don't think there was many players you could say had a bad game. I do slightly argue with the Malone argument personally. I wouldn't sort of wax as lyrical as you two have about how well he played on Saturday, but again, I wouldn't criticise him either. I thought he played well. But back to Mitchell, he played a very mature game alongside two players he's only played pre-season with, but it seems like they've played together for years.
They look good. Honeyman looks a good player as well, Ron.
Yeah, Honeyman looks really good. I think he's not gonna set the world alight. I don't think he's gonna be like one of the best players we've ever had, but he will definitely. It's his work rate really, and it'll be his consistency. He's even 7 out of 10 might be a bit harsh. He's probably a 7.5 out of 10 player every week. He's the fans really like him already running around. But when yesterday was probably the first time he's played a little bit more advanced. Obviously, he's been playing a bit deeper in pre-season, probably just to get the minutes. But he played kind of as the 10 on Saturday, and he got on the ball a bit more, started pulling a few more strings, and looks really lively and really good. And he's definitely got that bit of Millwall in him. He's definitely going to be a bit of a leader on the pitch, and I think it's a good role model for Billy. I think going back to Billy, I think last season people forget it was his first kind of full season, and with the injuries and that, he kind of had to keep playing even when he went into bad spells, and that will benefit him a lot this year. And I think Michael nailed it on the head when he said it's about his maturity. But Honeyman is someone who you're bringing someone in who's got that experience, got that maturity, and has got the quality. You're bringing, although we've targeted younger players that we're bringing in, younger players with a bit more resale value, Honeyman is definitely a plug and play player. He's entering his peak. He's been there and done it. He's got that experience and he's got the ability, and he's just going to fit like a glove at Millwall. You can tell straight away from pre-season and then from the first game, he's going to be a big player this year.
And the thing is as well with Honeyman, I find as well sometimes, I know when sort of players or when players get released from clubs who go down or have been in League Ones, etc. Some people do ask questions. If you were that good a defender, we've just signed you from, why did your team go down, etc. But I think with Honeyman, what point I'm trying to make is because he's played for a Hull that sort of went up and down and was near the bottom of the table and was involved in relegation battles, he was the captain of that side. And you see from the replies he got when he left, they weren't overly chuffed about him going. But you can see if it does start going a bit pear-shaped, or if it does start not going the way we want it to, he will be one of the people who get this club by the scruff of the neck and drag them back out, and won't let negative performances affect him. And like you say there, Ryan, spot on. If Billy Mitchell can see that, because like you said, Billy Mitchell, his first full season was last year, so he's only really seen as sort of, yes, the football may not have been brilliant or entertaining, but at times, but we were at the top end of the table last year. If it starts going a bit wrong and Billy Mitchell starts showing a bit of immaturity, that's where Honeyman could put his arm around him and go, look, I've been through worse than this, mate. Stick with me and I'll teach you the ropes, kind of thing.
Really nice feeling about the whole side. I mean, obviously, first game of the season, long way to go. I was just listening to Gary Rowett on the recast interview before, and he made the point that we've got a long way to go. But it's a massively strong start. It's just nice to be back at the Den, boys. I mean, it's great atmosphere on Saturday, and it's just nice to be able to repay that atmosphere with a win, and to be able to leave, go on your way home afterwards, floating on air slightly after a decent win. So, really, really strong start.
Achtung, Millwall.
Just looking at the London News Online 5 talking points, listeners, and just to close us out. And I was struck by the fact that only Fulham and Bournemouth, Michael, last season collected more points at home than Millwall. We're off to a good start now, obviously with a win at home. But it's going to be the true test. It's going to come away, and then we've got a trip to Sheffield United. It's going to be another big test next weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're right. I saw Gary Rowett's interview. I think it was with the BBC after the game when they said, I think Rowett said something like, we won. Was it something like 16 at home? We won like a ridiculous amount.
We won a lot at home last, yeah.
But we only won sort of something like 9 away. So there you can see where
it's got to change, isn't it?
Yeah. Where it's got to change. Whereas a few years ago, I think it was either under Jacket or Harris, we couldn't buy a win at home, and we were winning well at the time. But yeah, if you could get a good mix of turning some of those draws, those away draws to wins, as we said a while ago, who's to say that we ain't going to be in the reckoning and up there? So It's very, very positive at the moment. I think if we play like that Saturday for the majority of the season, there ain't going to be many teams above us. But it's going back to it. It will be the fitness of the. What it will be for me with these players is because I know pre-season they're against lower opposition, but apart from the Ipswich game, all I've heard is sort of good things and positive performances. The Stoke game, we beat a side there who before Saturday was quite fancy to go up and sign the likes of Dwight Gow. For me, it will be injuries this season. If we can keep this squad fit as possible, we will be up there. And I'll tell you what, like put a pin in this comment I'm making, Nick. Timestamp it. If we stay fit, we will be up in that top 6, top 8. From what I saw on Saturday,
it's hard. I think with the away form, I think you look at the table last year. Under Rowett, we don't lose a lot of games under Rowett. To be
we just draw too many.
I think people will point to like the defensive football, but it's also been like as much as it's dependent the amount of games where we should have won, like the amount of draws that we should have won just from missing chances, not necessarily, or not, maybe sometimes not creating as many. It's that has been our problem, and that will, I imagine, this year continue to be our problem at times, is creating chances. But if we could turn 3 draws into wins, or 4 draws into wins, or even lose a couple more but win a couple more, it makes a big difference to your season. If you get 5 draws, you lose 2 of them but win 3 of them, you end up with a lot more points. So I'm hoping that I'm interested to see how we go in those tight games. Obviously, Saturday was pretty comfortable, but it'll be interesting to see how in those tight games we go if Rowett sticks or twists, sort of, if he goes for the win. Now we've got a bit of a deeper squad. Now we've got different options. Obviously, last season it's hard, like you say, with the injuries. It's really hard when you've got such a small squad. It's really hard to ask them to go again. And we saw that. Obviously, went on that 5-game winning run, and they are gambling and they're going for it and they're putting all their energy. But then that drops off and we lose the next couple, and you can see the players are just knackered and it gets 1 game too many. But with the deeper squad, with the 5 subs, can you start changing games? Can you start changing things off the bench? And when you need something to go for it, you don't necessarily need the players on the pitch who are going to start 5 of the next 6 games to pull their finger out. You've got options to come on and impact games. So it's just, we've said it since he took over. It's turning those draws into wins, and hopefully we look like we've got the squad depth at the moment to give that a good go. And it will just be keeping them fit, making sure players getting the game time they need, making sure that there's good rotation, making sure that everyone's getting in form and keeping in form. And that will stand us in really good stead, I think.
Good stuff. Just to close us out, just want to congratulate Aaron, who's now on the TV. He's on the ITV highlights show, which goes out on a Saturday night. I think they've got various broadcasts. You can probably get it on the replay ITV hub. He couldn't be with us today. He's probably having a glass of martini on a yacht somewhere off the coast of Saint-Tropez or Monaco or someplace like that. Whilst they plan their this week's feature for the highlights show, but congratulations, Aaron.
He's probably in his trailer with like a brush all around his face, doing his makeup. Sorry, lads.
This isn't a video platform, is it? So Aaron's very much a visual presenter now.
Yeah, exactly.
He might be, but I think some viewers who would have watched the show, some listeners who would have watched the show, I think will agree that he does need to have a word with the production company, because from what I understand, Millwall were the last on the highlights package for the Championship, despite being the only team to win 2-0 and
we are top of the league, Ryan, as
well.
So
I do think he might need to have a word to bump us up the running order.
And also to the club shop as well. Our good friend Mr. Paul is a fan of a gilet, and he had said gilet on in the piece on Saturday. So, club shop, if you're listening, Millwall club director, why don't you send a new gilet to Mr. Paul for a little bit of a
proper French pronoun. This is not the Millwall that I know. It's Gillet.
Women's football and gilets, and also German sausages being swung around outside the ground.
Yeah, well done Millwall for that as well.
Did anyone sample the food?
I didn't. No.
Did you tuck in, Michael?
No, I'm not really a German sausage type man, Ryan, in truth.
You do surprise me.
We are. Huge thank you, Michael Avery and Ryan. Thanks for joining us, chaps.
Cheers, Nick.
And thank you to you two, dear listeners. We'll be back. Cup football tomorrow. We'll be back on Friday with Neil and I doing something for the weekend preview of that trip to Sheffield United. So till then, dear listeners, Arriverderci Millwall, and bye for now.
You have been listening to Achtung Millwall. Please do leave us a review at Apple Podcasts. Danke schon. Up the Lions.